In this journey, we'll explore Carl Jung's 5 darkest principles, the key to becoming the version of yourself that you're most afraid of. We suggest that you take notes, since we are about to deep dive into the subject.
Still working at 84, he is the most honored living psychiatrist, and history will record him as one of the greatest physicians of all time.
You must be wondering why it is necessary to become what you're afraid of. The answer is simple. We need to face our fears if we expect any progress in our lives. So imagine you are afraid of heights, which is completely normal, but at one point in your life, being what you are. For example, you get a job at a company you've always wanted, but the building has a see-through elevator, and you're stuck on the ground floor. To achieve your goals, you need to face that fear and take the elevator. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, famously said, "Where your fear is, there is your test." Jung believed that confronting our fears and integrating our suppressed parts is essential to personal growth and self-realization.
The world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. There's no such thing as an age bomb. That is all man's doing.
Yeah.
We are the great danger.
Carl Jung introduced 5 life-changing principles that, when understood and connected in the right order, can unlock your ultimate self. The first principle is facing your shadow, but before you can do that, you need to understand what the shadow is. It's the part of ourselves we often hide: anger, envy, fear, or even untapped potential. These are the traits we reject because they feel unacceptable. By suppressing them, we inadvertently feed our shadow, allowing it to grow stronger. Jung referred to the shadow as the slip, or faux pas, essentially a wrong step in our conscious personality. Ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It only grows darker and stronger, subtly controlling our lives without us even realizing it. Embracing this hidden part of ourselves is crucial for true self-discovery and freedom. That's why Jung suggested the best way to recognize our shadow is by writing down our feelings during intense moments, such as anger or jealousy. Think of it as a personal journal where you capture raw emotions as they arise. Reflecting on these entries helps uncover hidden aspects of yourself and brings the unconscious to light. Instead of letting your shadow control you, you can integrate it and take back control of your life. Now that you've started identifying your shadow, writing down those raw emotions and reflecting on them, it's time for the next step: learning to integrate it. This brings us to Jung's second principle, one that takes self-awareness to a deeper level. Because simply recognizing your shadow isn't enough, you have to make peace with it. And that's where the real transformation begins. Accepting your shadow self, no matter how good or bad it can be, is one of the most important principles, because without it, we will just be running in place. As we said, Carl Jung believed that if we suppress our shadow self, it will only grow bigger. Picture anger just piling up in you. Our consciousness will become anger. So to make any progress, we need to own them. Facing our dark side allows us to grow stronger, more self-aware, and authentic. Since the beginning of the study of the human psyche, it has been proven that self-reflecting is one of the biggest tasks. That's why here is some advice to help you do it. Next time when strong emotions arise, pause and ask, "What is this feeling trying to tell me?" Or, "Where does this feeling come from?" This principle is not just about writing your emotions, but analyzing patterns. What triggers your anger, jealousy, or envy? Because fighting it won't help, but instead of feeling guilt or shame, remind yourself, this is a part of me. I choose how to use it. True power lies in embracing every part of yourself, the good, the bad, and the hidden.
We must live in a world of his biological truth. It is the expression of what he really is and what he feels himself.
If you have managed all that, it is time to reveal the third principle, which is to open communication with our shadow. It might sound silly, but it is effective and it will lead you to your goal. So if we are not running from our shadow, we gotta do something with it, right? The best way is to communicate with it, because that way we can take control and start building the best version of ourselves. That's why Jung believed that if we listen to our shadow, we could find out what is really holding us back. Imagine your shadow as another version of you. If it could talk, what would it say? It is like when you think you have an inner fight with yourself, but in the end, that is just your way to communicate, or for some people it helps when they write a letter to it. Yes, you heard that well. Probably you are wondering if this is strange in some way, but in psychiatry, this is one of the most effective ways to acknowledge and be aware of it. Remember, your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a part of you that's waiting to be heard. The more you communicate with it, the more you understand yourself and the more control you gain over your life.
And after a while, you get the full picture.
Yeah.
And if he has a full picture and has the necessary moral stamina, well, then he can be cured.
This brings us to the fourth principle, bringing your shadow self into your conscious self. Carl Jung saw this as a true call to action, emphasizing that the knowledge of your own darkness is the best method to deal with the darkness of others. So we don't just hide our flaws, we bury our greatness too. But if we let it surface, we can better navigate life's challenges. Think about it, were you ever told you were too much? Too loud? Too emotional? Too ambitious? Maybe you wanted to be an artist, but someone called it unrealistic. And over time, we suppress parts of ourselves to fit in. But that only leads to the opposite outcome. We lose who we truly are. Instead of trying to blend in, the best way to be accepted is to be fully yourself, conscious and unconscious. If you have buried creativity, start drawing. If you have lost confidence, start speaking up. The more you express these parts, the more they integrate into your conscious self. So one way to do this is to revisit your childhood and the time when you were truly one with yourself without any shadows. As we grow, society imposes its standards, slowly erasing that genuine self. But the dreams, talents, and emotions you once had are still alive within you. And once you reclaim them, you stop existing and start living. Congratulations.
A great change of our psychological attitude is imminent. That is certain.
Why?
Because we need more. We need more psychology.
Now comes the final step, fully acknowledging and accepting the parts of yourself you once buried. It's one thing to recognize them, but it's another to own them. Jung believed true self-realization happens when we stop fighting who we are and embrace everything, light and dark, weak and strong, past and present. Many go through life carrying shame, guilt, or regret over traits they don't accept. Maybe you're a natural leader but feared stepping into power. Maybe you're sensitive but saw it as a weakness. Or you have buried your passion because the world called it impractical.
Because we need more. We need more psychology. We need more understanding of human nature, because the only real danger that exists is man himself.
That's the 5 principles of Carl Jung's shadow work. If you've made it this far, you're already on the path to true self-discovery. Remember, your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a part of you waiting to be understood, integrated, and embraced. If this spoke to you, let us know in the comments which part of your shadow you are reclaiming. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.